You have a talk that's titled 99 Ways to Kill an Open Source Project. Is that right?
That's right.
So what is the best way to take a perfectly healthy open source project and just kill it?
So fortunately, open source projects are incredibly resilient, which they need to be to survive. So that was kind of the point of the talk, was there's not a single thing we do, but over time there's a series of like non-events and paper cuts that accumulate. So non-events being things that we've just left out, we forgot to do, we didn't establish good patterns, users run into issues and don't report it, all of these little things that start to accumulate. And then paper cuts, which are things that not alone are not necessarily offensive, but they start to stack up over time and start to burn people out.
Are there common characteristics among those types of projects where those things add up?
There's kind of the conclusion I've come to is they tend to be like kind of systematic failures of the people managing the project. So, and I kind of compare this to like training a dog. Like if you have a puppy, like it starts out being wild and crazy, it's fun in some ways, but if you don't establish some good patterns, like you're going to have a misbehaving dog. And I think open source projects are the same way. Like if you don't set the tone for conversation, if you don't establish patterns for like how are we going to do releases, what's our governance going to look like. I think as an open source project gets older, like those things become harder to deal with.
Are they structural issues? Is that primarily where it kind of goes awry?
Some of it. Some of it might be, if it's a small project with a single maintainer, some of it might just be their daily habit. Sure. Do you wake up and check in on issues and pull requests, or do you ignore it for 3 months and check in every once in a while? Like that's, one of the things that I think prevents a project from starting to take off is it receiving, frequent attention, or do you check in on it once in a while? And for larger projects, I think it's, as being GitHub and a lot of companies here, we have projects that we want to start as companies, and if you don't start them with some of the right structure and right process, it becomes pretty painful to change things as the project grows.
What role does documentation play in healthy projects?
Yeah, so it kind of tends to be good projects have documentation, and documentation helps build good projects. And so I think the people that the maintainers that can identify problems that users are commonly struggling with and document them. So if you have to answer a question more than 2 or 3 times, maybe it's worth writing it down in a way that's easy to find. And so some of the projects that are easy to have good docs that are easy to get started with are the ones that take off the fastest and receive adoption.
Somewhat related to that, how can maintainers be convinced that documentation is worth the effort?
That's a good question. That's something we're kind of always fighting, right? And I think that's you really just have to experience it. If a person is part of a project that has a good strategy on documenting things and responding to the frequent problems that the users run into, they'll experience the value of, if I document this, I don't have to answer that question every day. I don't have to experience, I don't have to wake up dreading helping resolve some of these issues because users are able to resolve them on their own, and the project can scale much quicker. So
there's a certain percentage of the requests that could be addressed through that effort and documentation. Last question for you. What people or projects are you following these days?
Oh, man. Too many. So, there's tons of great things here. I've been really impressed by all the stuff that Microsoft is doing. The idea of open sourcing .NET is, I think, going to be incredible for them and incredible, build an entirely new open source community. The containers are the new hotness, and so it's been interesting. They're fun to kind of watch all of that develop. So, and then some of our own projects I've been really excited about. So we have Atom, which is our text editor, which has just taken off. Talked to so many people that use it, and then the underlying technology that uses is Electron. A lot of people, Microsoft and Facebook are both building things with Electron, amongst many other companies. So, I realize that's a very subjective answer, but those two I'm pretty excited about.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.